Every day I will try my best.
Learn opened its doors on the west side of Chicago 20 years ago. Despite coming from some of the city's most neglected neighborhoods, Learn scholars who are 98% minority and 88% low income matriculate to some of the best high schools across the nation.
Breathe out.
I love Learn. They teach me to not give up and follow your dreams.
The same denominator, and then see if they come out to be the same, yes?
Your support has helped Learn scholars close the academic achievement gap. Alumni graduate from four-year colleges at twice the rate of comparable peers at Chicago Public Schools, and 10 points above the national average when tracked from the 9th grade.
Learn is the foundation for me. Any success I've reached, I was able to go to college, to go to grad school, and then today working at Rolling Stone.
Una letra mayúscula.
We are so very proud of our Learn scholars, but we're not satisfied. We have a new, even more ambitious goal of 50% college graduation rate.
Nancy and I have been so inspired by all that Learn does.
What I saw firsthand, whether it was tutoring in the classrooms, volunteering on field days, or preparing 8th graders for their high school interviews, was a staff that provided rigorous and enriching teaching while continually reinforcing respect and the possibilities of what the future can hold.
We hope that you will join us in investing in this proven organization and the incredible kids that they serve by making a contribution to the Learn 20th Anniversary Fund.
Hello, Greg and Nancy and everyone else. Welcome. I'm Susan Noyes, the founder of Make It Better Media Group, and we're delighted that everyone has joined us for this virtual fireside chat with Learn Charter School Network CEO Greg White and Capital Campaign Chair Nancy Santee. At any time, please send questions through the chat and we will try to answer all of them. But also, please know that a video of this will be sent to everyone who signed up tomorrow. It will also be placed in MIB TV and in our YouTube channel, and it will be embedded in an article summarizing the top line recommendations and delivered to about 100,000 Better Letter email newsletter subscribers too. And if you haven't subscribed to our Better Letter yet, please do. Our content connects you to the most trusted resources in your community and helps you make your life and the lives of others better, because absolutely everything we publish and do amplifies social impact and helps you make the world a better place too. As you just saw in that wonderful sizzle reel, Learn is an innovative network of tuition-free, high-performing college prep public elementary schools that are open to all students. It was founded over 20 years ago with one school in Chicago and has grown to currently serve more than 4,000 under-resourced students at 11 elementary schools. 7 of them are on Chicago's south and west sides, 3 are in Lake County, Illinois, and 1 is in Washington, D.C., and 2 of those schools are on military bases, providing stable, personalized learning environments for children who experience an average of 7 military transfers during a child's K through 12 years. Substantial credit for this success and Learn's growth is given to Greg White, who worked in finance for 15 years, is a Harvard Business School grad, and over the last 14 years, he has grown Learn from 1 school to the 11, from 200 students to 4,000 students, from 20 employees to 575, and from 1 Chicago neighborhood to a national network of schools. He also has taught at Kellogg School of Management and worked at Chicago Community Trust. Greg has a true passion for philanthropy, entrepreneurship, and education. In celebration of Learn's anniversary this past school year, and with the intention of broadening their impact, Learn launched a $20 million capital campaign chaired by Nancy and Scott Santee, who live in Winnetka, where they raised their 3 children. Nancy also has a true passion for education. She worked as a teacher and has volunteered extensively, including within the Learn schools. So it is now my honor and privilege to introduce you to Nancy so that you can learn about her journey to make this exciting inflection point in her life and in Learn's development. Nancy?
Hi, Susan. Thank you so much for giving us this chance to share this success story. Obviously, it's amazing to us. My journey began at the beginning of my teaching career. I taught in a under-resourced community in Houston, Texas. And, you know, I was going in there. I couldn't wait to teach those kids reading and writing, and I couldn't wait. I get in there, and there were so many hurdles. I just started realizing, my goodness, I really spent the first half of the year just trying to teach respect, trying to teach this is how we positively treat each other, this is positive discipline. And it took so long to lay that foundation that then I got to get into teaching, but really that was my big focus that year. I taught after that, but I don't know what happened next year. I don't know. They went on to just a positive experience like that when it comes to self-esteem and giving them hope and making them care about learning. I just didn't know what was going to happen. So that was kind of my experience in under-resourced schools. And fast forward to 2007, my husband and I had the opportunity to come hear about a school that is already very successful. So there was one Learn school at the time, and that was led by Greg White, and we came to sit down to hear. And up until that point, like I said, I feel like I knew all the answers that kids were getting in schools. I kept wanting to run into the Department of Education and say, you need to look at the whole child. You need to give them confidence. You need to give them coping skills. You need so much support. You need to support the whole child. You need to support the families and engage families, and work with them beyond 9 to 3 o'clock. You need to be there for them. So again, fast forward to 2007, we get to sit down with some other families to hear Greg White, and I still can remember starting to cry because everything Greg was saying, what his goals were and what his strategies were, I said, this is the answer. It felt so fabulous knowing somebody got it and somebody was going to do this. So right away, my husband and I wanted to jump right in there and support it, but also I wanted to be a part of it as well as other people who also heard this great message. So I got to see the schools firsthand. I got to tutor there. I got to see them on field days and dance programs and field trips. I've got to see them in all different ways, but I got to be inside the schools knowing how fabulous they were. So big believers. Fast forward to 2 years ago when Greg and his wonderful staff who have always been there and who are so passionate about this asked my husband, Scott, and myself if we would be the chairs for the 20th anniversary campaign. And of course, at that time, we had just said, we have to say no to everything. Our daughter's getting married. We have so much on our plate. But when they asked us, we said, of course, we were so honored, but it was so thrilling to know we have the opportunity to spread this message and share this school with so many people. Chicago has so many caring citizens and who are aware in our communities. And if people could hear this, you know, that was what we were so excited about, is to bring this message to so many people who are supportive of Chicago, tired of hearing about all the issues that are going on. And we want people to know and see the strategies, see what has worked, and really hopefully to help amplify this into their continued goals. So that's my journey, Susan.
Well, Chicago's very fortunate to have you and Greg feeling this passion. And Greg, can you sort of talk about the structure that has led to this great success?
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Susan, for the introduction. And of course, great to see Nancy once again. Just quickly, I just want to make sure I underscore the most important message, which is, I think this works because the Nancy and Scott, they want for other people's children the same education and opportunity they want for their own children. To me, that's the crux of how education works. When generous, kind, wonderful people say that whatever my kids get, I want low-income, disadvantaged kids to get the same thing.
Because I say, I wish my kids went to school here. So,
exactly.
So not just the same, but just got to say some of the things that go on there.
You know, educational best practices are the same. You know, a great teacher can teach the same thing to any child. So that's fantastic.
Absolutely. And
so Greg, tell us more.
Sure. And that's really the passion of my work. As you mentioned, I've been doing this for 14 years as CEO and longer as a board member. And it's really a chance to live with passion and purpose. Why passion? Because the notion of giving kids, regardless of income or neighborhood, an opportunity to go to a great high school and on to college and graduate and become employed and become a contributing member of our society, that fires me up. Also, every day, I get a chance to work with kind, generous, supportive people like the Sandys and others who also buy into this vision. And I've been doing it long enough to see the outcomes. And Nancy sees it also. Students who come in pre-K and I see them, in college one day. I know the power, the potential contribution of our students. That's why I do it. This is what keeps me engaged. That we're being successful despite all the odds, despite all the challenges of the pandemic, you name it, but we still been incredibly, I think, very, very successful.
It's a very hopeful message. Could you please speak to sort of the pillars on which you built the success? What are the practices that ensure that each child's going to have that outstanding education?
Nancy, can we share that? Can you start with a few of the pillars that I'll fill in?
Sure. Well, my favorite is social emotional learning, and it sounds so easy, and we all also know how important mental health is. But as I said before, when I saw these kids and the hurdles they face, and just not even really having the skills of knowing how to sit respectfully next to a person, or what they face in their community, be facing at home, trauma. They might come to school and they might not be able to sit and listen to teaching about drawing conclusions and reading. Their minds are other places. So the fact that, first of all, Learn emphasizes and social emotional learning, the teachers weave it into everything that they do. And so it's taught to the teachers. It's part of the fabric of Learn. It's just so very important.
And during the pandemic, mental health and social emotional well-being has become even more important. So bravo to Learn for being ahead of that curve. What's another strategy?
Well, the talent. I could also optimizing talent, the teachers that they have and they attract, and that's part of what they want to continue to do is grow their master teacher program, reward teachers, make it such a positive environment, which it is, and that attracts teachers. But so part of this is to make sure that they keep attracting and keep those teachers, the talent and the teachers who do this.
And the other three were developed talking to our alum. So this is tough. We brought our alum, those who graduated in 8th grade, to our board meeting. We had a long conversation. We said, hey, what are we doing well? And what must we do to improve? How do we get more students to and through college? It was sort of painful what they told us. Very illuminating, but painful. They said, you know what? You do a good job, but your academics aren't strong enough. You send us to the best private schools and public schools in the nation, but we're not ready. That hurt a little bit, but they were right. Not all students were receiving algebra by the time they graduated. Not all students were great writers. So they said, you need to up your game and create a much more rigorous academic program so that we are ready for those great schools we attend.
And that's part of Greg's, as a businessman, how he can look at something and so say, how do we think outside the box? How do we change this? And so implementing algebra for all once it's go to high school, or more of a rigorous science program. So Greg knows how to look at this and say, how do we solve this? The hurdles that to keep them going through high school and then college.
And that's part of our 20th anniversary fund, to really have a much more rigorous academic program. They also told us, they said, you know what, we'd like it here, but we sometimes leave in the 6th grade. We said, why are you leaving this great school? They said, because you know what? You're not providing the total experience. We were so laser-like folks in academics that we failed, and Nancy, you saw it, to deliver on sports, music, art, just experiences, swimming. So now that's part of the program. We will offer a much better student experience, which also lead to higher student retention, which will lead to better academic outcomes. So we now have a swimming program. We've had horseback riding. We took kids at Disney World. We have ski trips. The point is, again, back to the earlier point, we're trying to deliver to our students the same experience every parent wants for their students. And the last one is alumni support. We thought if we just send you to a great high school, that high school would propel you to college. We were wrong. That as a first generation, there are hurdles they're going to face we could only imagine. That we had to provide ongoing support even beyond high school. So we've created this alumni support program so that everything from SAT preparation to summer employment to just counseling. So we now have a full-time dedicated group of people who will love our students all the way through high school and through college and ideally to their first job.
And to Greg's point, like even again, as the businessman, implementing a role as an alumni manager. So someone who's going to oversee that, somebody who's going to know how to put that in place and make that really an important part of learn and the kids' experience.
As a savvy business person, my guess is that you have learned to collaborate with other organizations that can help. Could you talk a little bit about that, please?
Oh, absolutely, positively. You know, we've learned which is that things we do and things we don't do. So, you know, we try to get laser-like focused on the academics. All of the things we try to bring in partners. So, for example, we do not do after school well. It's just a whole different set of skills. So we outsource Boys and Girls Club, Heart of the City, the YMCA. So therefore we have high quality, but we're not distracted from our core enterprise. Our most important partnership, we have the Winnetka Family Partnerships. We have a group of about 35 Winnetka families who've embraced us and supported us and shared their resources with us. Again, partnering, connecting. We have a lot of high schools we partner with who love our kids, I love our students, and help our students attend and receive scholarships to their schools.
Well, other communities could also support the charter schools. So how would a community learn about that opportunity with Learn?
I think they should contact us directly, and we would welcome. It depends who they are, of course. We would welcome the opportunity to connect and to share.
Susan, it is fabulous. And I know you know about it, but it's very organic. So it's people who can you're almost like a sisterhood, and you are there for whatever they need. Oh, we can connect you to the theater, and we're going to bring the kids up here. We're going to make a field day for these. Let's do a fundraiser. Let's support them at the holidays and have a toy drive. It could be all kinds of ways to support a school. So it's a really fabulous model.
I would also be great if support charter schools and encourage your politicians to, because again, we are authorized by the state and the locality. Although you may not need one in your community, it would be helpful if you encourage your state legislators, your politicians, your political friends to say, hey, the charter schools are good. And there's so much misinformation. Let me just quickly say what a charter school is, if that's okay. Again, we're a public school. We're authorized or licensed by the local school district, but we are a public school. It's free. It's open to all. It's a lottery if we have more applicants than spots. But it's really about giving parents a high quality choice. In most communities, you don't have any choice. If you get out of, you either go to local public school or you go to, if you can afford a private school. For families who do not have the resources to get in, it's actually not competitive at all. I mean, I think we tend to have waiting lists, but not many. So we have, if you're interested, if you put your name in, and there's no test, there's no application. In general, that we have enough slots for families who want to.
And that's what's fair. That's what's fair about it. It's not just the highest test scores. It's the kids who really need this.
There's no screen to come in. But we need politicians across our state to support charter schools, even if you don't need one in your neighborhood.
All right, looks like Susan's, oh, is she back?
I hear you now. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Nancy, it's part of the organic process of developing authentic engagement. My guess is it's somebody walking into a classroom and seeing it in action. Could you talk about what someone would experience when they walk in?
Sure, happy to. Well, first of all, you walk into the school and you just see joy everywhere. You see support. It's just a fabulous environment. It could be very different than a strict environment or one that's not supportive or one. And when I say that, teaching in some of these areas that are very distressed, you're dealing with a lot of hard issues. But learn from the very beginning. They spent 8 weeks first dealing with the social emotional before when they started the second school that I was involved in. They were teaching them social emotional skills. So it was all about believing in themselves. It's all about treating your neighbors. You'll see that when the teachers have everyone sit down, they stop and say, oh, are we respecting our neighbor? If you walk down the halls, you'll see artwork on the walls that help them with resilience, help them with coping skills that say, this is what I do when I feel angry. And then you'll see all the different ways. So they focus so much on that. Coping skills, resilience is so important. You'll see things like the teachers teaching in a very joyful, very motivating way. So one example is I can remember one of the teachers was teaching metaphors. And so she played a Bruno Mars song. I'll spare you and I won't sing it right now. But she, so the kids were so into it and they were learning about metaphors through this Bruno Mars song. One story I really like to tell is one of my first several weeks of tutoring, and I went into the classroom with the teacher I was with all year. So in the beginning, he had me work with these 3 boys, and I'm like, this is going to be great because I specialized in reading and writing. Here, these boys have an individual, and have my full attention. And the first several weeks, I'm like, they're such great, they're so, they have high skills, high level skills. So I'm wondering why the teacher's having me work with them. So after about 3 weeks, I asked him, and he said, these 3 boys in particular are going through some things at home, and we need them to feel important. We need them to feel like, wow, we're lucky because we get to work with Mrs. Santee. We have someone who is now, I developed a relationship with them, and a lot of times they would just sit and talk to me about what was happening at home. They just felt special because they were the only ones who really got my attention for the whole year. And it was just really a neat thing. And I was able to build up their self-esteem or talk to the teacher about what they might be going through. It was just really amazing. So that just told me what the values that Learn has is. They focus on things like that. So you'll see, I know Greg says like now they want to focus on the whole experience and you're adding so much to it. But even from the beginning, one of the programs that was so fun for me was their dance program. So that happened, Greg, even, from the beginning, and just walking in and seeing those kids with the dance that they rehearsed and learned, and then they performed it. That was thrilling. So you'll see a lot of happiness and a lot of joy and a lot of support going on. You'll see on each door says, these are the scholars in room 102. So they're called scholars. You'll see the teachers wearing the sweatshirts from where they go to college. You'll see the names of the college on the door. You'll see pennants everywhere because this school wants to give the kids the ambition to go to college. You know that we've all know what it's like to be raised and just, that's where I'm going. You hear college, that's what you're doing. Well, that's what Learn does from pre-K all the way through, is they hear over and over again, I can go to college. What college are you going to? Oh, here's a college. They see it all over the walls. So it's just part of the whole, it's part of the experience at Learn. So those are just some examples. I could, maybe you should put a timer on and cut me off because I could go on and on.
Nancy, what a great compliment, the fact that you use the word joy.
Yes.
Because that's what we're seeking this year. Mm-hmm. So in light of all of COVID and other experiences, so thank you for sharing that you feel joy.
It is.
I hope you also see the other living our values. And I'll share quickly what our values are. And I hope you see this, which is we promise a safe and nurturing environment. Really important, right? Safe and nurturing. And you'll see it when you come in. High expectations. Yes, we do. Yes, we do, because we have great ambitions for our students. Our view is we have to work longer and harder to get ahead. So you'll see with a longer school day, a longer school year, academics are rigorous. The third thing is respect, core value respect. We really care how people talk to each other. How you treat people matters a great deal. Student to student, adult to student, a respectful, nurturing, supportive culture. And I would say the last one, my favorite, which is a focus on the whole child. As Nancy talked earlier, we meet the social, emotional, psychological, and physical needs of our students, particularly in light of the communities our students come from, where there's a lot of trauma. And therefore, our view is before we can help you, we must heal you sometimes. So we spend a significant amount of resources, at least one social worker, sometimes 2 or 3 in our buildings. We had, during the pandemic, we doubled the number of nurses. Every school had a nurse. Went from 5 nurses to 10 nurses. But the point is, we work really hard to deliver more than academics and live our values. And I hope, thank you, Nancy, bring joy to our students and families.
And as Greg said, they meet each thing that comes down the road. And when the pandemic came down the road, Greg was running around buying computers and increasing the nursing staff. So the nurses were there for the families as they dealt with this. And we all dealt with that. But can you imagine what these kids were going through with their families and providing meals? I mean, they just meet every challenge that comes down the road and they're there for them.
Well, what parent wouldn't want joy, nurturing, stand up to whatever challenge, safe environment? This is fantastic. So you've given us some anecdotal descriptions of the success. There was a brief reference in the sizzle reel of the data. I think 10% more students go on to college than the national average. But could you give us some other hard data that proves the impact and the success?
If I could, I guess to clarify, yes. So first and foremost, we measure 4-year college graduation rate. So although we go pre-K through 8th, we track students all the way through high school and through college. And so we have a very high high school graduation rate, college matriculation rate. But the number that matters the most, right now we track about 31% of our students earn a 4-year college degree, which is quite impressive because on a national average, for all races and all income, only 24% earn a college degree. So imagine that contrast. Students from the most challenged communities are outperforming the average student across our nation. We're super excited about that. And along the way, our test scores, yes, we do annual test scores and we produce much higher results. But that's an interesting measure. It's not the only measure. I would say parent satisfaction. When you talk to our families, we've had stable, steady increase in enrollment, where you can, some jurisdictions, some school systems have actually seen a reduction in enrollment, yet we're still expanding enrollment. Parents want to be here. They understand the quality of the education. And by the way, Susan, we did focus groups on parents. They do not come to us because of the numbers. Do you know that? We thought we used to always talk about our test scores and our college graduation rate. That's not why they come. Any idea why they want to come to us? Why they come to learn charter school? And it's not test scores, and it's not graduation rates.
Is it word of mouth because they've heard of other successful students and families in their community?
That's important, absolutely. The other variable is safety. Like the top 3 reasons, you read the headlines in Chicago every weekend, correct? Safety, 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 which is why we invest heavily in making sure it's in a safe environment, people feel welcome, and we also provide the support. So we have social workers full-time on staff, a lot. We have, the psychologists full-time on staff, and the nurses. And we also train our staff to also, how do you help students who've been traumatized? Mm-hmm. So that's the added complexity of working in the neighborhoods we serve.
And to piggyback onto what Greg said, just a little story, just to prove his point about safety. Two of our North Chicago students were coming down to Winnetka School, private school that they got into things to learn, getting into high schools. And so I connected with the families and talked to the parents, thinking they were going to say, like, oh, what's the science program like? What's the, writing program like? What's the, can they be in a play? All of that was yes. They did all of that. But all they cared about was they knew they were going to take to walk from the train station to the school, which is very close. And that was their big concern is it safe to walk from the train station to the school in Winnetka? And that just a big light bulb went off for me to know that was their concern. And then, of course, as the 4 years went on, the parents were coming to the plays, coming to see their kids, and started being able to focus on their academics and their successes they were having. So that was really neat to see. But when I heard that, it was pretty amazing.
That's a lovely opportunity to talk about the impact of donated dollars, because what I'm hearing is donate to learn, and you give a child an amazing foundation and you help them get into high performing high schools, and you stay with them through college. So that feels like incredible venture philanthropy to me. Could you comment a little bit about that?
Well, I would say that, the philanthropy allows us to have all the resources we need to be successful. 75% of our budget is what? People. Hire great teachers, hire great counselors. We must be competitive, and all the philanthropy. So you receive some public support, but it's nice, but it's not sufficient. Again, we have a longer school year, a longer school day. We want to have more resources. So we rely on philanthropy to close the gap. So which is critical, not just for staffing, but also for experiences. For example, is a partnership Nancy pulled together with the Boys and Girls Club. We offer swimming twice a week at one of our campuses. Well, philanthropy allows us to afford that, have that partnership. So many other examples of the extra. Last piece is during COVID. Well, guess what? When we went to remote, in a matter of days, we had to get 4,000 Chromebooks. Right? That's not easy. And, so how do you have sufficient resources? We raised a family fund. There's so many great examples of kind, generous, caring people who said, how can I help? And here's my contribution so that you have all the resources you need to be successful.
Another example is supporting these kids get to get to see colleges.
Yes.
So just at an early age for them to get to see, not even waiting till they're in high school. So even on a smaller scale, maybe, paying for the bus that drives them to Northwestern, or helping with these trips. So that's just one other example of funds, large and small, that can help.
Well, and what I was trying to say was, it's like it's a Kickstarter donation that will lead to other opportunities paid for by others, like the scholarships that they earn from the high schools, and the support that they'll get from in order to go to colleges, if I'm hearing this correct. So that just feels like, ooh, my $1,000 donated to Learn is actually going to probably contribute to $75,000 worth of, change in this person's life that will also change their family and ultimately change the communities that they're working in.
For sure. And to your point, some of it goes towards supporting the roles that they're putting into place for this 20th anniversary that bring it again to the next level up, to amplify it, such as an enrichment manager who manages all the kids' experiences. So some dollars can go towards supporting that a typical school wouldn't have the luxury of having that. Or the alumni manager who's going to keep this mentoring. And when we say alumni, we mean the kids that are graduating and they go on into college, and to follow them and give them the support. And many people might know this, sometimes, all right, they're going to college. Oh, they don't have the transportation funds to get there. So it could be something simple as supporting them in the transportation funds to go back and forth to college. And these alumni come back to contribute. So, and then they become mentors. So the funds to support these programs and these positions that they're putting into place is very important, and goes above whatever any school I've ever seen do.
And what else will the $20 million fund?
Sure. It will also allow us to expand our pre-K program. As you probably know, the earlier students survive, the better they do.
That's right.
It's critical need. So we're excited about that. So pre-K, high school placement. I tell you, we're pre-K through 8. Going from 8th grade to a great high school, I think it's more complicated than going to college. It is so complicated, so much work. You have to apply, you have to meet deadlines, you have to have. So the point is, every school with 8th graders, we have a full-time person who works with the families and the students to find the right placement, and because you're low income, a scholarship. So you can go to a North Shore Country Day or North Lake Forest Academy or St. Ignatius. Or boarding school. We've had some wonderful number of students who actually attended boarding schools. So it's really a holistic approach to how do we support you to meet this incredible goal of earning a 4-year college degree, having gainful employment, becoming a contributing member of our society.
And also supporting the curriculum that's there and
Sure.
that you're increasing. So the science program, purchasing science equipment that they can increase their STEM program, or new Algebra for All programs. That all takes dollars, as well as their social emotional learning, putting the staff in place, the counselors for the one-on-one programs, or the group counselors, the social workers. And my niece worked in that area, as well as at Learn, as well as a high school placement counselor. So I got to hear every day all the fabulous things going on, and what this support team does for the kids. So that's another way I got to see firsthand. But so any of these pillars that we're talking about, the money goes to support that, and enables Learn to amplify these pillars to the highest level.
Can you talk a little bit about serving military bases too? That is a fascinating concept that I'm not familiar with at many other charter schools.
Absolutely. So it's a huge opportunity, but also a huge challenge. The opportunity is, as you can imagine, many military bases are located in low-income communities. And there's also a great deal of they come middle of the year and they leave on average 2 years later. So as you can imagine, it's also a great deal of, what's the right word? Because every 2 years they're moving, sometimes there are gaps in their learning. And there's also need to quickly connect them to the community. So we discovered, starting first in North Chicago, Great Lakes Military Base. There was an opportunity, we opened a school, and families were thrilled to come. But there are challenges, and we've done a really good job of serving those families. Because we opened a second school in North Chicago, there was so much demand, so much happiness and joy. We had a second school, and then we got recruited to open a school in Washington, D.C. on a military base. Again, there's some, what's the right word? There are some unique insights of how do you serve those families. All the complexity. By the way, they folks, the trauma, the level of trauma. Could you imagine? Sometimes your mother's gone, sometimes your father's gone, sometimes both parents are gone, right? Learning how to communicate with a parent who's several thousand miles away. Again, when a new child arrives in April, how do you make sure they feel part of that community? How do you do powerful diagnostic tools to figure out where are the gaps they're learning, fill those gaps in, and let them take off and do academically very well? It's an unmet need. They deserve a high-quality education, and we're fortunate to provide it.
It sounds like a model that should be replicated on a lot of military bases too.
Susan, one last piece, if I could. And as Nancy talked about earlier, one of our key strategies is really talent, right? Which is just retaining, recruiting the best talent. And part of our big focus is how do we pay competitive? We're launching what's called a Master's Teachers Program, in which we pay a premium for the best people. The great thing about a charter school is we have the autonomy to differentiate pay, right? And identify people who are the most effective and reward them. But that's a program we're launching hopefully next year. But that, of course, requires an investment. But we think it's a great investment that pays off. Just like every other environment, if you're more effective, should you receive a fair reward. So we're excited about it. Master Teacher Program. If you're committed and effective, we're going to differentiate compensation.
So how does somebody qualify for the Master Teacher designation?
So two things. One, we're going to work with our teachers to help determine that. So we're going to work together, collaboratively to determine that. But the highlights are, one, multiple years of high performance, really important. Two, the ability to really impact others. So how do we leverage your skills and knowledge to help impact other classrooms? Living our values, of course, very important. And, just at the end of the day, there's objective, verifiable evidence that you're making a powerful impact on the student's academic achievement.
So how much money do you need to raise in order to launch that program?
Well, the more we raise, the larger the program, the more teachers we can acknowledge. How's that?
I am all for empowering as many master teachers as we can.
And Susan, I just want to add to that. I mean, it's maybe hard to envision unless you've seen it in place, but the importance of teachers seeing extremely successful teachers modeling for them. Teachers go through college, they learn this, and they don't really get to see a lot of other teachers modeling positive behavior, positive discipline, not I shouldn't use that word, but positive way of managing kids, how to handle kids, how to be enthusiastic, how to show you believe in them. There's so many things that teachers learn in books, but they need to see successful teachers that really are able to motivate kids and show that they believe in them. So when they see teachers like that, then they model them. So that's so important, this program that Greg's talking about.
I also think I completely understand that, Nancy, and agree. Mm-hmm. I also think it's important for the world, for our society, to see master teachers being celebrated and elevated.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we are almost out of time, and I want to make sure that we have the opportunity to have each of you tell us anything else that you want our audience to know?
Who wants to go first? I just want to emphasize that this changes the trajectory of these kids' lives. So not only, like one of my favorite pictures, I hope I can show it here, from our Learn brochure that I know anybody could find and get one. Look at, this is what drives me. I know it's what drives Greg. This boy right here, this is changing the trajectory of his life. And Learn does that while they give them an ambition to go to college. So not only this boy, but if you look at the group, here's a group of the graduates in 8th grade. It changes as a group, it changes their lives, and it changes the cycle. They're going on to doing good in the world. Then this group's gonna hopefully come back and make changes in their community. So that's what I would like to leave everyone with, is these, you've heard these strategies that Greg is implementing and amplifying, and this is the result of it. It changes lives.
Nancy, that's very inspiring. It's what a great way. Thank you.
That's truth.
I think that.
And if somebody wants one of those pamphlets, we will make sure that they can get one. That will be embedded in the article.
And very clearly it states all of these things that we're mentioning very clearly, which I know my husband loves since he's a businessman. Might I add also, Greg, this is how smart of a businessman he is. And again, that's one of the things that drew us to Greg, is he was running this with business skills, how to look at it as business. And that's what one thing attracted my husband to it. I was the educator and he looked at it through a business eyes. But Greg surrounds himself with talented people also on his president's council to continue to he can bounce things off of them and they give their input with successful leaders in our community. So that's just another smart thing that Greg does. But you can find all these strategies in this fabulous brochure if you contact Learn.
Thank you. And Greg, what do you want to share?
Let's say, I think that, so what I'm very proud of and what excites me every day is I want to prove that low income can also mean high academic achievement. Honestly, that with the right opportunity, the right resources, the right expectations, that there's this great evidence that students can excel. Yes. But I've thought about this, and I share with the students that life is like riding a bicycle. Some people have their wind to their back and all downhill. And some people, our students, are riding uphill with their face in the wind. But you know what, Susan and Nancy? Riding uphill against the wind, you get what? Strong legs and strong lungs. Our students have strong legs and strong lungs, and they will do great in life. They will. And the proof is they're graduating from college at much higher rates. They're gaining employment and being contributing members of our society. So I think it's worth the investment in all communities.
Oh, absolutely. And if we get everybody well educated and confident, we solve all the other problems in the world too.
I also want to just say the great part of the job is that I work every day. I have a chance to connect with kind people, generous people who care about communities, not just theirs, but other communities. Again, my work with Nancy and Scott Santee, the fact they're co-chairing our campaign, thank you, thank you, thank you. The fact that they bring joy and Scott mentors me. This is the joy of the work, which is that when you are doing something really positive and wonderful, good people come into your life. And that's been the joy and the payoff for me.
So
how could we not? We had to jump on this bandwagon pretty quick.
There is a question that keeps popping up in the chat, and I feel like we've answered it, but I want to give you one more time to answer it. The Winnetka Family Program is so wonderful. It has gone on for many years and is such a great model. How do you plan to share that model with other communities?
You
And
might need your
think-
staff who handles that to deal with that question. Susan, that's been my passion all along, is to say, this is so incredible. Other communities need to see this. And so we stick our nose into different media and you're one of them who has shared this story. But I'll let Greg answer from that end, but it's definitely a story that needs to be told, how other communities can support and be in all so many very enriching ways.
And Susan, I think this is the power of this podcast, of what you do, right? Make it better, right? You are sharing this good news.
That's right.
And I hope that people will be inspired and say, we ought to do that here. But as I've connected over the last, dozen years, maybe 13 or 14 years with these wonderful people, is that one requires great leadership. Someone has to sort of say, I'm a help. But also that you must care about people who don't live in your community. So it's not just my community, it's all other communities. And I think, and hopefully Nancy would agree, that it's the takeaway for the Winnetka families has been their families. I mean, their families connect with our families, right? And it's been just a wonderful sort of mutually beneficial relationship, I believe.
It sure has. These kids, our kids, our collective kids, anyone involved, they get to help. They get to plan and implement the field day. My kids have gone down and done Valentine's with the kids, or had pen pals between our classes. I mean, there's just so many organic things that arise from this partnership. That's just really, really amazing. And I know all of our kids love it. I could go on and on. They are brought up to see the children's theater. It's an amazing thing. So I would encourage anyone who wants to be a community partner like this, go ahead and talk to your neighbors. That's how I started the tutor program. I just sent out an email. Who would be interested? I was so amazed at friends and neighbors who said, I want to do that. And they loved going every week because it was such a great place to be. But go on the website, contact Learn, and I'm sure something can be worked out.
We will make sure that message is circulated as widely as this media can too.
Great.
All right, thank you so much. It has been a real pleasure talking with you. I hope that we help you raise the money and grow the good, because we need this, joy. We need more joy. We need more hope. And this program, that's what it's bringing.
Yep.
Thank you, Susan. And thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. Thanks, Susan. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. Thank you.